Well, couples can come for help for all kinds of different reasons. It can be as varied as a sort of life itself in a way. But often couples who come to us have found themselves getting stuck in things, in problems, in conflicts, in arguments or standoffs that keep repeating. These apparently meaningless fights that go on and get nowhere, and they're uncreative and unproductive. They're always happening for a reason. And if those reasons can be understood and worked out, and the couple, through taking time to work it through with the couple therapist, can really understand that, then they have a chance to find a different way, not to be driven into those kinds of repetitions with each other, those repeated cycles of fights and arguments. And they can find new ways. And it can unlock a creativity and a kind of, in a way, a capacity to see your partner and to know who you're with, who you're married to, who you're living with. I think when we're choosing a partner, often at a deeper level, we can sense underlying vulnerabilities in them. And people describe, feeling I met my soulmate, or there was just something about them that made me feel at home or comfortable. And it's that kind of thing, I think, that describes this sort of the conscious version of this unconscious apprehension of this sort of shared area of vulnerability that the partners are likely to inhabit together. Both might, for example, have shared similar experiences of not being able to rely on their caregivers. And let's say he dealt with this by becoming quite sort of anxious and clingy and trying to keep people who are important to him close to him. She might have dealt with it by saying, I'm never going to rely on anybody. I'm going to show how tough and independent I am. So there they are in adulthood. They look really different. She looks really independent and feisty. He looks much softer, more vulnerable, and at worst, you might say clingy, but holds people close. So he's expressing something for her, the vulnerability that she's too frightened to show. She's expressing something for him, which is a capacity to be a bit tougher and stronger in the world. And you could see how that might in itself be an attraction. Now, all may go well until life throws a curveball or things are difficult, and then the anxieties amplify the defenses. So they have to get she has to get tougher, he gets needier, and they get more and more polarized. And then, for example, and this happens in lots of different ways, and it's a very crude kind of example I'm giving, but nevertheless, her toughness and distancing might be felt to be more and more rejecting by him. He might then get more and more anxious and get clingier and clingier. That might drive her further away, and so it goes on. And it's that kind of escalation of these differences, things that attracted people to each other in the first place, that then become experienced as the problem, is typically, often what, people present with initially when they come for help. And what shifts things, often in a very profound way, is when they start to discover how much they share underneath these apparent differences. It's a painful process at times because, you have to be real, the feelings have to be expressed and felt. And couples will then, often when they're talking about a problem, they won't just be talking about it, they'll be reenacting it because they can't get into thinking about it without reenacting. That's the whole problem they're bringing very often. So it means, struggling through that with the therapist and that's, I don't think there's any shortcut to that. But, despite that, there are nevertheless moments, I think, in therapy, sometimes when you've been pushing through something for a long time, where, in my experience at least, there might be quite a sudden shift, and it's led not by the therapist generally, but, by the couple themselves, by one or other partner or both, bringing something different, maybe responding differently to the same old thing that they've been caught in before. And even one partner responding a bit differently allows the other partner to shift. And they, in a way, take back some of the ideas, you could say, that they've been attributing to the partner. The certainties, often couples are very certain about what's going on in their partner. And being able to pull back a bit and actually hear what the partner's saying. And sometimes that can really suddenly shift your way of seeing things. One of the themes that quite often comes up, or is around in the therapy, is a feeling of disappointment that partners can have with each other. And I do think it's very common. I mean, it's a standard thing in writing in this area, where people describe, that first kind of infatuation, falling in love, getting together, maybe getting married if that's the route you go down, which is a kind of idealized state. You've found the best person in the world, you're really happy, and of course it fits with, our kind of romanticized ideals of love, of Love Island, or from Love Island to Jane Austen, virtually. Every 19th century novel ends in marriage and then it's happy ever after. That's so much what we're fed growing up, and it's often said that people marry in this idealized state and then spend the rest of their lives finding out who they really married or really got together with. That the disappointment that people feel is the most normal thing in the world, because we all have to live ordinary lives, find out who we are and who our partners are, and their complexity and three-dimensionality. We can all struggle in our relationships at various points in our lives. But actually, you could also say that any problem that hits one or other partner in a couple, if they're in a couple relationship, it's the relationship in a way that has to bear the problem. It's like the last great public health taboo is couple relationship problems and couple therapy. But that's really great cost to us, because so much then just gets kept within the family or within the couple, just domestically. And yet the couple relationship is the crucible of our children's development and our own mental health. And really so much starts from there. One of the things we found is that people coming to Tavistock Relationships for therapy who, at the point that they started, were considering separating, more than half of those decided to stay together. And in terms of our other outcomes, we make people better. People come, their relationships vastly improve, and their mental health, if they have mental health difficulties like depression or anxiety, also improves significantly.